Welcome to my expat stories. Gary is 54, Scaffolder, Glasgow. He went to Chiang Mai for 2 weeks and met a woman called Nong on a language exchange app 3 days before he even got on the plane. By the time he landed, she was already waiting for him. By the time he flew home, he was already gone on her. And somewhere on the other side of the world, a German bloke called Klaus was feeling exactly the same way about exactly the same woman at exactly the same time. This one is messy. Gary is the first to admit he wasn't thinking straight. He'll also be the first to tell you he'd probably do it again, which tells you everything you need to know about Gary. Here's Gary. Right so, Gary. 54, Glasgow. Govan, born and raised, scaffolding since I was 19, which is 35 years of getting up high and making sure other people can do their work. I'm not going to pretend I'm some well-travelled, sophisticated guy because I'm not. I've done Spain a few times, the usual stuff. Thailand wasn't even on my radar until my mate Stevie went and came back looking like a different person. Younger somehow. Lighter. I said, "What happened to you?" And he just grinned and said, "Go and find out." So I looked into it, watched a load of YouTube videos, read stuff online, booked Chiang Mai because everything I read said it was the cultural one, the temples, the night markets, not like Pattaya, which even I knew about. I'm not that kind of guy, I told myself. I'll do the cultural thing, see the proper Thailand. I was on this app called Tandem about 3 weeks before I went. It's a language exchange thing. You help someone with English, they help you with their language. I wasn't seriously trying to learn Thai, I just thought it'd be good to know a few words before I got there. Maybe find out what places to visit from an actual local. That's where I met Nong. She messaged me first, actually. Said she wanted to practice her English, and could she ask me some questions about Scotland? I said, "Aye, go ahead." We ended up talking for about 3 hours that first night. Her English was better than she let on. Not perfect, but you could have a proper conversation. She was funny. Self-deprecating in that way where you can't tell if they're being serious or taking the mick. And I like that in a person. She was 31, worked in a guest house in Chiang Mai, originally from a small town up near the Myanmar border. By the end of that first conversation, she knew I was coming to Chiang Mai in 3 weeks. She said she'd show me around if I wanted. I said, "That sounds brilliant, yeah." And that was that. We just kept talking every day after that. I want to be honest here because what's the point otherwise? By the time I got on that plane, I already liked her more than I should have. We'd been voice noting each other every day, sometimes twice a day. She'd send me videos of the market near her guest house, the mountains in the morning mist, a cat that apparently lived on the roof and had one eye. I'd send her videos of the Clyde and she'd say it looked cold and I'd say, "That's because it is." It felt easy. It felt real. I know how that sounds. I do. A 54-year-old scaffolder from Govan falling for a voice on his phone before he's even left the country. I know how that sounds. But here we are. I landed at Chiang Mai airport at about 11 at night after 2 flights and about 16 hours of travelling. And I was absolutely done in. And she was there, outside arrivals, holding up a wee handwritten sign that said Gary Glasgow on it in big letters. And she was laughing before I even got to her, because apparently the look on my face was worth the sign. I said, "You didn't have to do that." She said, "I wanted to see your face." And that was it. That was the moment. Standing in Chiang Mai airport at 11 at night with my bag and my jet lag. I was gone. Completely gone. Didn't stand a chance. She took me to a night market near my guest house even though it was late and I was wrecked because she said I had to eat something proper before I slept. We sat at a plastic table on a plastic stool and she ordered for both of us. And what came out was this bowl of khao soy, this incredible curry noodle soup, rich and slightly sour, and with this crispy fried noodle on top. And I just sat there in the Chiang Mai night heat, eating it and thinking, I have never been anywhere like this in my life. The smells, the noise of the market all around us, the smoke from the grills drifting over. She was watching me eat with this expression, like she was genuinely pleased I was enjoying it. And I thought, aye, this is something. We talked until about 2 a.m. She went home, I went to bed. I lay there on top of the covers, with the fan going, and the sounds of Chiang Mai coming through the window, and I thought, I am in a lot of trouble here. Next morning, she's already outside my guest house at 9. We spent the whole day together. The old city, the temples, Doi Suthep up in the hills. You take this road that winds up the mountain, and the city drops away below you. And the temple at the top is all gold and white tiles, and the smell of incense so thick you can almost chew it. She knew everything about it. Not the tourist version. The actual history. Her grandmother had come here as a child. She talked about it like it mattered, and I watched her talk about it and thought about the voice notes and the one-eyed cat, and the laugh in the airport, and the cow soy, and I thought, oh no. Every day that week was like that. She was off work. She'd arranged cover, she told me, because she wanted to show me around. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. At the time, I thought it was the most thoughtful thing anyone had done for me in years. She took me to the Sunday walking street market, which goes on for what feels like miles. Every kind of food and craft and thing you didn't know you wanted until you saw it. The whole street closing to traffic and just filling up with people and colour and noise. She took me on the back of a motorbike to a waterfall outside the city, where you could swim. The water cold and clear, coming down off the mountain. The jungle on all sides making that thick insect sound. The two of us sitting on a rock in the middle of it, eating mango she'd bought from a woman at the bottom of the trail. I paid for things. Food, entry fees, whatever came up. I didn't think about it. It wasn't a transaction. Or it didn't feel like one. It felt like two people spending time together. And one of them happened to have more money. She never asked for anything directly. That's something I want to say. Because it's true. She never once said, I need money for this, or can you send me that? It was always just, we were together and things needed paying for and I paid for them. Whether that's a distinction that matters, I genuinely don't know. By day 4, I was completely in love with this woman. There it is, 54 years old, 35 years on the scaffolding. I have been divorced once. I have 2 grown-up kids in Glasgow. I thought I knew myself fairly well. Day 4, gone. She felt the same. Or she seemed to. And here's the thing I keep coming back to even now. I'm not sure she didn't. I'm not sure it was all performance. That's the bit that doesn't fit neatly into the story you're supposed to tell about Thailand and bar girls and being taken for a mug. But I'll get to that. On day 5, she told me she had to go back to work for a couple of days, but she'd see me in the evenings. She seemed genuinely annoyed about it. So I spent those days on my own doing the tourist stuff. A cooking class, a visit to an elephant sanctuary outside the city, the kind of ethical one where they've rescued the elephants and you walk with them rather than ride them. I'm standing in a river, helping wash a 40-year-old elephant called Maylee and thinking about Nong, and this is my life now, apparently. She came to my guest house both evenings after her shift. We'd eat somewhere, walk somewhere, come back late. The last night before she went back to work, she stayed. I'm not going into detail about that, but I want to say that whatever was or wasn't real, that felt real. I was there, I know what that felt like. The second week she was off again. We went to Doi Inthanon, which is the highest mountain in Thailand, about an hour and a half outside the city. Took a hired car up through hill tribe villages and cloud forest, and the air going cold and clean the higher you got after the heat of the city below. She was asleep against my shoulder on the way back down, and I was watching the road and the darkening sky, and I was thinking about what I was going to say to her before I flew home. 2 days before my flight, I told her how I felt. Properly told her. She said she felt the same. Said she'd never met anyone like me. Said she wanted to see where this could go. I flew home. And for 3 weeks, everything was brilliant. Voice notes every day, video calls in the evenings. She'd met my mate Stevie on a video call, and he'd given her a thumbs up afterwards, which for Stevie is basically a knighthood. I was planning my next trip. I was telling people about her. Then one evening I got a message from a number I didn't recognise. German number. A man. He said his name was Klaus, and he was very sorry to contact me like this, but he needed to show me something. My stomach dropped before I'd even read the next line. He'd found me through the app, same profile. He'd been talking to Nong for 4 months. He sent me a voice note she'd sent him the previous Tuesday. It was her voice. Her exact words. The same voice note she'd sent me the previous Tuesday. Word for word. Same recording. Sent to both of us on the same day. I sat in my flat in Glasgow and I read this message, and I looked at the voice note, and I just started laughing. Not because it was funny, because I genuinely didn't know what else to do with it. Klaus was still there on the other end, waiting. I typed, "How long has this been going on?" He said, "I think since before either of us met her." I sat there for a long time after that. So, Klaus. I need to tell you about Klaus because Klaus is the bit that I still can't get my head around even now. Not Nong, Klaus, a 51-year-old accountant from Dusseldorf who'd been talking to the same woman on the same app for 4 months and had never been to Thailand in his life, and was sitting in Germany feeling exactly what I was feeling in Glasgow, and neither of us had any idea about the other one. He messaged me on a Wednesday evening. I just got in from a job, still had muck on my boots, was standing in the kitchen making a brew. Phone buzzes. Unknown number, German flag on the profile. And this message that starts with, "I am very sorry to contact you like this, but I think we need to talk." I nearly didn't reply, thought it was some kind of scam, which looking back is quite funny given what it turned out to be about. I replied. He sent me a voice note, Nong's voice, clear as anything, sending him a good morning message, telling him she was thinking about him, asking how his day was going. Dated the previous Tuesday. I scrolled back through my messages. Tuesday. She'd sent me almost the exact same thing, word for word, 2 minutes earlier. I just stood there in my kitchen with my boots still on, reading this over and over. He'd found me because I was still visible on the app. He'd seen that Nong had been active on it recently, which confused him because she'd told him she'd deleted it. He started looking through profiles she might have been talking to. Found mine, saw Scotland, took a chance. We ended up on a video call for about 2 hours that night. Me in Glasgow, him in Dusseldorf, both of us piecing it together like a pair of detectives who didn't really want to solve the case. He was a decent bloke, actually. Quiet, measured. The kind of man who thinks before he speaks, which I am absolutely not. He'd been talking to Nong since before I even downloaded the app. She told him she was saving up to visit Germany. He'd been sending her money every month. Not huge amounts by German standards, but real money where she was. He had a whole future mapped out in his head. He showed me the messages, the voice notes, the photos she'd sent him. I showed him mine. Same photos, mostly. A few different ones, but the same ones too. Same messages. Same future mapped out, except mine involved Glasgow, not Dusseldorf. She'd told him she'd never been in a serious relationship with a foreigner before. She told me the same thing. She told him her English wasn't great. She told me the same thing. Her English was fine. We both knew that by then. At some point, Klaus went quiet for a bit, and then he said, very carefully, in that measured way of his, "I think there may be others." And I thought about that. Just sat with it. "Yeah," I said. "Probably." We didn't say much after that for a while. Just two blokes on a video call at midnight staring at their phones. Here's the thing that I keep getting stuck on, and I might as well say it because it's the honest truth. I still don't know how much of it was fake. I know that sounds mental. I know what you're thinking. She was sending the same voice notes to two men. Probably more, there was money involved, it was a con. End of story. And maybe you're right. Maybe it was exactly that simple, and I'm just too proud to admit I got played that cleanly. But I was in Chiang Mai for 2 weeks with this woman, and I know what those 2 weeks felt like. The airport sign, the khao soi at midnight, the waterfall, Doi Inthanon, with her asleep on my shoulder on the way back down. I was there for all of it, and it didn't feel like a performance. It felt like two people who'd stumbled into something neither of them expected. Maybe she's just that good. Maybe after enough years of it, you can make anyone feel like the only person in the room, even when there's a German accountant in the other room getting the same voice note. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, and I've spent a lot of time trying to work it out, and I'm no closer. What I do know is that the minute I got off that video call with Klaus, I rang her. She answered on the third ring, sounded normal, happy to hear from me. Asked how my day was. I said, "Who's Klaus?" Silence. Not a long silence, maybe 3 seconds. But a very specific kind of silence, the kind that has a lot of information in it if you know how to listen. Then she said, "What?" I said, "Klaus, from Germany. He rang me tonight. We had quite a long chat." Another silence, different quality this time. She said, "Gary, I can explain," and I thought, well, here we go. What she said was this. Klaus was someone she'd been talking to before me, before the app, before everything. An old contact. She'd been trying to let it go naturally, didn't want to hurt him, kept the conversation going out of kindness. The voice notes were, she stumbled here, and I give her credit for at least stumbling. She said she'd sent a similar message to both of us by mistake. Copied the wrong one. It wasn't the same message, she said, just similar. I said, "He played me the voice note, Nong. It was word for word." She said, "Gary, please." I said, "Please what?" She said, "I don't want to lose you. What we had was real. What I feel for you is real. Klaus is nothing, he's just someone I felt bad about cutting off. And here's where it gets embarrassing. And I'm going to tell you anyway because I said I'd be honest. I wanted to believe her. I'm 54 years old and I wanted to believe her. I sat in my flat in Glasgow at midnight and I listened to her say, "Please." And I felt something in my chest go soft in a way I haven't felt, since I don't know when, and I thought, What if she's telling the truth? What if Klaus was just an overlap? A thing she'd been trying to end? What if the 2 weeks in Chiang Mai were exactly what they felt like? I didn't tell her I believed her. I said I needed to think. She said okay. Said she'd wait. Said she wasn't going anywhere. I rang Klaus back. He answered straight away, like he'd been waiting by the phone, which he probably had. I told him what she'd said. He was quiet for a moment and then he said very carefully, she told me something similar about someone else 3 months ago. Oh, I said. Yes, he said. We both sat with that. Then he said, I think she's very good at this. And I said, I think you're right. I didn't contact her for 4 days after that. Not because I was being strategic about it or playing some game. I just genuinely didn't know what to say. I'd go to type something and then put the phone down and go and do something else. Made a lot of tea that week. Did a lot of staring out the window at the Clyde. Stevie came round on the Thursday. I told him everything. He sat there and listened, and when I finished, he said, So are you done with her then? And I said, I don't know. And he gave me a look. I said, I know. He said, do you though? I said, probably not. That's Stevie. 20 years of friendship condensed into 4 words. The thing was, and this is the bit that makes no logical sense but is completely true, I missed her. Through all of it. The voice notes, the Klaus revelation, the silence, the 4 days of staring out the window. I missed Nong. The actual Nong. The one from Chiang Mai, the one with the airport sign and the cow soy and the one-eyed cat on the roof. I missed that person and I couldn't work out if that person was real or if I'd just invented her and fallen in love with my own invention. Both options were fairly depressing if I'm honest. On the Friday she sent me a voice note. She'd been waiting 4 days without a word from me and the voice note wasn't angry or desperate. It was just her, talking about the guest house, a difficult guest she'd had to deal with, something funny the one-eyed cat had done on the roof. Normal, like nothing had happened. Either the most calculated thing I'd ever heard, or the most natural. I listened to it 3 times. Then I replied, I know. Stevie would have had a field day if he'd known, and I'm glad he didn't. But I replied and she replied, and within about 20 minutes, it was like the previous week hadn't happened, and I was back in it, completely back in it. Making plans for another trip, talking about the future, the whole thing. I booked flights 2 days later. Looking back now, I can see exactly what was happening. And it's not complicated. And I wasn't stupid, I was just, willing. I was willing to accept a version of the story that let me keep what I wanted to keep. That's not stupidity, that's something else. Something harder to defend against because it comes from inside you, not from her. She knew that. I think she knew exactly that. The flight was 6 weeks away. 6 weeks of everything being brilliant again, voice notes every morning, video calls, making plans, her sending me photos of places she wanted to show me that I hadn't seen yet. I was happy. Genuinely, properly happy in a way I hadn't been in years. And I knew even then, somewhere underneath it, that I was choosing to be happy in a way that required me not to look too hard at certain things. Klaus messaged me once more in that 6 weeks. Just checking in, he said. Said he'd stopped talking to her. Said he hoped I was okay. I said I was and thanked him, and felt like an absolute tube for what I was about to tell him. I said, I'm going back. He took a while to reply. Then he said, I understand. I hope it goes well for you, Gary. He was more decent about it than I deserved. 3 days before my flight, she asked me to transfer money for something. First time she'd ever directly asked. Said there was a problem at the guest house. Something to do with a deposit her boss needed covering. She'd pay me back when I arrived. The amount was 40,000 baht. I sat and looked at that number for a long time. And something shifted. Not dramatically. Not a light bulb moment. Just a quiet settling in my chest. Like a door closing slowly rather than slamming. I thought about Klaus in Dusseldorf saying, I think there may be others. I thought about the voice note, word for word. Same recording, same Tuesday. I thought about the 3-second silence when I said his name. And then I thought about the airport sign, and the Khao Soi, and the waterfall, and Doi Inthanon, and all of it. And for the first time since I got on that plane, I didn't know which one was real. That was the problem. I still don't know which one was real. And I've had a long time to think about it now. I didn't send the 40,000 baht. When I didn't send the money, she went quiet for about 6 hours. Then she came back with a different version of the story. The deposit wasn't 40,000 anymore. It was 20. Her boss had sorted part of it. Could I just help with the rest? I said no. Another silence. Then the guilt stuff started. I thought you trusted me. After everything. I would never do this to you if I didn't need help. You know me, Gary. And the thing is, I did know her. Or I knew someone. Whether that someone was actually her is the question I've been sitting with ever since. I said I wasn't sending money. She said she understood, and then she just stopped. No big argument. No dramatic ending. The messages slowed down over the next few days, then every couple of days, then nothing. Like a tap being turned off. Slow at first, then just off. I cancelled the flights. Got most of it back, thankfully. Had the right kind of insurance. Lost about 60 quid on fees, which, considering everything's, almost funny. The last message I sent her was about 3 weeks after the money request. Just said, I hope you're all right. Meant it. Still means it. No reply. I totted it up. The 2 trips, flights, guest house, food, everything I paid for while I was there, the things I bought, money I gave her when I left. About £2,200 total. Maybe a bit more. Not life-changing money. Not the kind that breaks you financially. The kind that stings because of what it represents. I rang Klaus about a month later. Don't know why exactly. Just felt like he was the only other person who'd understand the specific shape of the thing. He answered, sounded surprised but not unhappy to hear from me. I told him I hadn't gone back. He said he was glad, not in a told-you-so way. Just glad. We talked for about an hour, compared notes properly this time, without the raw shock of the first call. The photos she'd sent us, the stories about her family, the future she'd mapped out for both of us simultaneously. At some point, he said something that I've thought about a lot since. He said, I don't think she was entirely acting. I think she meant some of it, in the moment. I think she just meant it to several people at once. I don't know if that's better or worse. I've gone back and forth on it. Some days it feels better. The khao soi was real. The waterfall was real. Something was real. Other days it feels worse because if she could feel it and still do all of that at the same time, then I understood her even less than I thought. The one-eyed cat is still the thing I think about. She sent me a photo of it once sitting on the roof of the guest house with this expression like it had seen everything and decided none of it was its problem. I saved that photo, I don't know why, I've still got it on my phone somewhere. I'm going back to Thailand, already booked it. Chiang Mai again because I liked it and I'm not going to let one woman change that. Different guest house. No apps, no language exchange. Just me and the temples and the khao soi and whatever happens. Stevie asked if I was mental. I said probably. He said fair enough and left it at that. I haven't deleted the app. I keep meaning to. Every few days I open it and look at it and close it again without doing anything. I don't know what that means. Maybe nothing. Maybe I'm still looking for something, and I haven't worked out yet if that's sad or just human. Probably both. This is my expat stories. And sometimes the most expensive thing you carry home from Thailand fits in your chest pocket, not your luggage.